Well, I meant to make this video during the week, but sometimes my schedule doesn't allow me with work and that. So this video is going to be made after with the wildcard series being done. But I still feel like I want to share my bracket challenge for the 2020 MLB Postseason, as I did make obviously a bracket challenge for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and I also made one for the NBA playoffs, so you can see those videos, what I did on those brackets, and find out who I ultimately picked to play in the finals and win the championship. So you can see those videos, but I decided, hey, why don't I make one for the major leagues, as this year, given what's been going on, that they have 16 teams in the playoffs, and this might never happen again, given how baseball operates. So I figure I'll share my Major League Baseball picks for my bracket challenge. I keep in mind that when I'm recording this, all the wildcard series have been done, and I did sort of kind of wing it. I mean, I have an idea who were the top teams in the league and some of the matchups, but just like what we saw in the NHL playoffs, there has been some crazy upsets that, of course, this guy didn't pick, but I'm still pretty confident who I have for meeting in the World Series and winning the World Series. So these are where I ultimately picked. So keep in mind I'm recording this after the wild cards, but these are my picks that I submitted with Major Baseball. Started with the American League with the wild cards. Actually, you could maybe say this is a little bit of Canadian and homerism. I actually did pick the Toronto Blue Jays to beat the Tampa Bay Rays in the first series in the 1-8 matchup, as Tampa Bay was the top team in the American League. As you know, that didn't happen, but I felt Tampa Bay and Toronto, I mean, it's a best of three, so anything could happen, especially with a compressed schedule, which is why I think there has been some crazy upsets. And then in the next series, for the 4-5 matchup, I did actually pick the New York Yankees to beat the Cleveland Indians, so I think I got that one right. And then for the 3-6 matchup, I had the Minnesota Twins beating the Houston Astros. Well, that didn't happen. And then in the last series for the 2-7, I actually had the Chicago White Sox, which would in the 17 beating the Oakland Athletics, and I believe that actually happened. So those were my AL wildcard picks, and those series are best of three. So if you look at the National League side of the ball here, I did pick the Los Angeles Dodgers, who were the top team in the major leagues in their 60-game season. I had them beating the Milwaukee Brewers. And then for the 4-5 matchup, I did have the San Diego Padres defeating the St. Louis Cardinals. And then in the, I know I didn't get this one right, for the 3-6 matchup, I actually did have the Chicago Cubs beating the Miami Marlins, and that didn't happen. And then the last one for the 2-7, I actually had the Atlanta Braves beating the Cincinnati Reds. So these were my picks right before the playoffs began, and already some series have already busted it, but I'm still pretty confident on who I still have, because who I still have to get into the World Series and win the championship is still alive. So those are my wildcard picks. So now when we get to the divisional series, and these divisional series are best of 5. Actually, if you look at my previous video where I talked about where surprisingly Major League Baseball was able to get a season in, considering the speed bumps at the start of the season, that I broke down the bracket and how it was working and where it's played, where mostly it's played in California and Texas. And actually, I heard that with the entirety of the Championship Series and the World Series played in Arlington, Texas, that they actually intend to have fans in the game. And I think I heard that they were going to have 11,000 tickets sold, or up for sale, for the bubble playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I know that, it's still going to be interesting to see how they're ever going to do whenever fans get back in the game. But back into my bracket picks. For the AL Divisional Series, if it did happen, the New York Yankees would have taken on the Toronto Blue Jays. I did have the New York Yankees beating the Toronto Blue Jays, as the Yankees definitely had Blue Jays number for most of the season. And then now I did have the Chicago White Sox and the Minnesota Twins meeting. Well, I actually had the Chicago White Sox beating the Minnesota Twins for my pick in this bracket. So that was the American League Division Series. And now if you look on the national side of the bracket, it would have had the Los Angeles Dodgers playing the San Diego Padres, and I had the Los Angeles Dodgers winning that series. And then I had the Chicago Cubs beating the Atlanta Braves, but that's not going to happen now as the Chicago Cubs are out. So now that will set up the championship series, and the championship series and the World Series are the best of 7. So if this actually happened with my bracket, we would have the New York Yankees and the Chicago White Sox playing in the ALCS. I had the New York Yankees advancing to get to the World Series, and that could still happen. And then for the National League, I actually had the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. And I had the Los Angeles Dodgers playing in the, moving on to the World Series. So I have the Dodgers and Yankees playing for the World Series, and that could still happen. And ultimately, my champion, given that they've been the best team in the major leagues in the 60-game season, I had the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the World Series over the New York Yankees. So that's my picks. I sort of winged it when it came to making my picks. I mean, I just knew that with a best of 3 wild card, expanded playoff, and given this wasn't a normal season, under normal circumstances, that we could have expected some crazy upsets. There were definitely some crazy upsets. Of course, there weren't the ones that I picked. And then if you go all the way back to the NHL playoffs, where they had the 2014 formats, where you had the play-in series, best of 5 Stanley Cup qualifiers to get into the 16 teams. Well, it so happened that the Montreal Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks, both they were the 12 seeds. The Montreal Canadiens actually wound up beating the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Chicago Blackhawks beating the Edmonton Oilers, and there were definitely some crazy upsets there. So I figured that was going to line up in the way. So we'll see if it will happen if we still at least have the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers meet in the World Series. I know when I look back on my bracket picks for the NHL and the NBA, well, when it came to the NHL, the Stanley Cup playoffs, I actually ultimately was right on the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup. However, I did have Tampa Bay beating Colorado instead of Dallas. And then when it comes to the NBA, well, I actually had the Toronto Raptors defeating the Los Angeles Lakers for the championship. However, sadly, the Toronto Raptors lost to the Boston Celtics in 7 games in the second round. However, I do have the Los Angeles Lakers at least in the finals, and as of this recording, the Los Angeles Lakers are up 2-0 against the Miami Heat in the NBA finals. So at least when it comes to my other brackets, I was right on at least a team being in the finals, one of the 2 teams. In case with the Stanley Cup, I was right on the champion. And at least for the NBA, I was right on the finalists. And keep in mind, I follow the NHL much more closely because I have right here in Calgary as a Calgary sports fan. But I also do casually follow the major leagues and the NBA as well as the NFL as well. And I'm sure eventually when time comes around, I'm sure I'll make a bracket for the NFL playoffs, however that shakes out, and who I ultimately think will win the Super Bowl. So what do you think of my bracket, and who are your picks for the Major League Baseball postseason, then in the expanded 16-team playoff? And who do you think is going to ultimately win the World Series under these times? And do you think the Major League Baseball could eventually expand it to 16 teams in the playoffs? I mean, I definitely can't see any harm in doing that, especially, maybe try to recoup some costs. And also the fact that I just got to wonder what it's like if you're a hardcore baseball fan, knowing that you live in a market where your team's expected to suck, and they have sucked up to, and it's only May, and you're thinking, oh man, we got nothing to play for. Even if we go on a winning streak, we're still got nothing to play for. However, if you have 16 teams in the playoffs, that still could bring some hope. Almost be like that, turnaround in that Disney movie with the Angels in the outfield. So that's all I have for baseball and my picks, and just my feelings on the expanded playoffs, and touching on my other brackets. So as I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, but I have been making a few videos here and there talking about other leagues with their updates, and I already mentioned I casually do follow them. But I also do personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experiences on the road or at sporting events. So if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, you know what you need to do. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below for other ways you can follow me to get maybe any updates on my channel or other tidbits that I share in general, and maybe eventually we'll find your way on making a video in the future. So as I say, hopefully you enjoy the postseason of the major leagues, and as I say, baseball definitely gets a lot more intense in October when you live by each pitch. I always have to say businessmen and baseball players are very similar, that they both work every day and they live by every pitch. That's baseball is, and it definitely gets amped up a lot more in October. So as I say, I'll see you in the next video.